Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. It's the Monday after race day, which means it is driver ratings as we end this round of triple headers in the Formula 1 2020 season with the first time going to Mugello. That was a chaotic race.
Yeah.
That was absolutely mental.
2 safety cars. 1 safety car restart. How many cars retired in the end? 8 cars retired?
8 cars retired in the end, only 12 finished. Grosjean out of those cars, we're pretty sure, had damage, so it was probably close to retiring. But yeah, I mean, we've just finished watching it because we always record this just after watching the race. But yeah, mental. Yeah. Absolutely mental. But anyway, we'll get into driver ratings. So if you're new around here and you don't know how driver ratings work, or you just need a reminder and recap, basically what me and Stephen do is we go through all the teams on the grid and give the drivers a rating out of 10 for their race performances. If they have not finished the race, they do not get a rating, although Lance Stroll, because he completed a good amount of the race, we will be giving a rating for his performance today because we thought it was pretty damn good. Yeah. Actually, for Lancey boy, especially after the big Racing Point news during the week. But yes, we'll crack straight into it. So starting off with me, and we're going to go with race order. So that's Haas last. So Kevin Magnussen, a bystander in a car kind of crashing into him, and he was one of the...
He was involved in every incident in the race.
Yeah, he was a...
Okay, he wasn't near Stroll going off, but anywhere there was kind of contact or anything like that, Grosjean was Grosjean was there.
No, well, yeah, Grosjean was there, and then Magnussen was a victim in the safety car restart, which saw 4 cars retire on the start-finish straight after some thinking they were going, where Valtteri had held it nice and slow right up to the kind of start line, which was absolutely mental to kind of see, and it was a pretty scary incident. So, you know, first thing is we're glad they're all okay, but yeah, no rating for Magnussen. And for Grosjean, it seems like he had damage because well, we were like, surely the Haas can't be that slow, because he was in P9 after the last restart, and George Russell
was as high as P8.
It was as high as P8 from the last restart, and then just dropped and had absolutely no pace. So it must have been some sort of damage on his car.
He was about 7 or 10 seconds behind Russell in the end.
Yeah, which was crazy. So Grosjean, we're gonna feel sorry for him 7 out of 10, because a lot of people have been critical of Grosjean this season. We've been critical of Grosjean, but I think he's showing some good race and he's fighting for his Formula 1 future. Yeah, absolutely. People are saying that it's gone. It's too much. We don't want to see him. He's had enough chances for his Formula 1 future. And I know the performance doesn't do it, but the result doesn't necessarily show that. But I think his performance today and how he avoided everything was bloody good.
Yeah, he survived.
And some of the overtakes he pulled off were really good. Yeah. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Roman Grosjean, and that rounds up Haas.
Yes, moving on to Williams then. Latifi got caught up in that safety car restart. I think he started and then stopped, and then Giovinazzi went into side of him. So no score for Latifi. Was looking okay. I think it was about P13 on the restart, because George was P11 and Latifi was P13, so it was looking fairly decent. But yeah, no score. George Russell on the other end, P11, so close to points. I think it was 2 seconds off in the end with the Kimi Räikkönen 5-second penalty. So close to his first points, but his highest ever finish in F1 with Williams. Yeah. So very good performance from George. I think 8 out of 10 for George is fair.
Yeah, I think that's, he couldn't really have done much more with the performance of the car. It's just if luck had fallen his way and doing it. Well, maybe actually, I think there were a couple of mistakes in just in the pursuit of Vettel where he just lost it.
Well, he was just giving it all.
Yeah,
you
but
can't really mark him down
exactly, you can't mark him down because points were on the line, especially with that Kimi Raikkonen 5-second penalty, and he saw Vettel up, and you could tell he was hungry just to fight. But he drove a great race, and it was 8 out of 10 for him. But we now move on to Ferrari, and look, 1,000th Grand Prix for Ferrari, incredible achievement. All the kind of things were going on was basically, Ferrari and Formula One, they kind of go hand in hand. The underachievers of the sport, and this season will be, unfortunately for them, in such an amazing achievement, one of their worst seasons to date. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think Vettel and Leclerc could have done much more.
No.
Vettel had...
to be fair, quite impressive. Yeah. Double points finish.
Absolutely. So, one of their better results of the 2020 season, and I think that shows how poor things have been.
Yeah.
Leclerc was, running as high as 3rd after the start, but just dropped through the pack. He gave everything he could. Vettel had to come in and change his front wing, and with the retirements was able to obviously take advantage of that and get some points. So 8th and 10th, was it? 8th and 10th, wasn't it?
For Ferrari, yes.
So,
it's 9 and 10 it was, 8 and 10 with the Kimi penalty.
Yeah, one of only 2 teams to have both drivers finish the race. So big double points finish for Ferrari, funnily enough. And so they're both going to get 8 out of 10s because I don't really know what more they could have done.
Yeah.
That's Ferrari. 8 out of 10 in a double points finish. So I guess job well done in their 1,000th Grand Prix.
Yeah, fantastic result. On to Alfa Romeo. Giovinazzi, safety car was 2 wheels flying off. Good to see, it was all okay. Big crash for him, but no score overall. And Kimi Raikkonen. 2 points for Kimi of the season. And another season goes by and Kimi's got points. It was a bit of touch and go. And this may be his only points finish of the season, but he'll take it. And this triple header has really been good for Kimi, because I think last triple header after those double Silverstone races, it was getting a bit like Kimi needs to retire. It's not a good way to see his career ending. But this triple header has been fantastic for him. Great result in Spa, being the Ferraris on merit. Decent race in Monza. His tyres just went in the end, but he gave it his all. Good racing. And points in Mugello. Fantastic.
What more could he ask for?
Yeah.
Really, what more could he ask for in this situation? I mean, obviously a more competitive car. But in the current situation that they're in, I don't know if it could have really gone much better for Kimi Raikkonen this period.
Yeah.
And also Alfa Romeo coming out and saying that Kimi Raikkonen is their first pick for 2021.
Bam. Yeah. So, giving Kimi a 8 out of 10, I think is one for him.
Yeah.
Because, yes, I'm marking him down because it was a stupid mistake to get the 5-second penalty. He should have really been in 8th, but he's just gone across, and it is a stupid mistake. He was on the radio asking why it was 4. I don't know why, but yes. That's why I'm marking him down to an 8 out of 10, but it's a great result for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So that moves us on to the next team, and that is going to be Alfa Tauri. And after the highs of last week, winning his first ever Grand Prix, fortunes kind of didn't go Gasly's way. Went in a kind of, it was really tight at the start, nice kind of sandwich things. He probably, I think Brundle said on commentary, probably should have backed out a little bit earlier into that one, but it was just kind of first lap instant really.
Yeah.
Too many cars going into a corner side by side with each other. And yeah, unfortunately, he came out worse off of it and had to retire from the race. So it's a no rating for Pierre Gasly today. But for his teammate, Daniel Kvyat, it's going to be an 8 out of 10. I don't really know what more he really could have done from the race. A solid performance from Daniel Kvyat, especially, and that's what he's kind of done all season. And he's only really kind of looked poor to Pierre Gasly because Gasly seems to be getting more out of that car from what Daniel Kvyat does. But he's basically putting it where probably that Alfa Tauri should be.
Yeah.
So, a P7 for him today. Managed to avoid all the trouble, all the carnage and chaos. I think he had some strapping on his neck, so he was in a little bit uncomfortable pain. But managed to kind of, just looking at the last restart there, he did look like he got ahead of Norris for a little bit before Norris came back and took the position. And it's a shame for him he wasn't able to hold on for that. But P7, great result for Daniel Kvyat today.
So 8 out of 10. Best of the season?
I think it is.
Before, but
I think it is his best result this season.
So
absolutely.
Quality. So that, AlphaTauri. Who's next? McLaren. Because Norris in P6. I'll get signs out the way. Another no score. There was a lot of them.
He really was involved in both incidents at the start.
He ended up having a car on top of him after the safety car restart. So again, good to see he's okay, but no score because he couldn't race. Norris on the other hand, P6 from P11 to P6. Very good result for him. I'm sure he may have preferred to be slightly further up, challenging for that third position, P3 or P4. But he never really had the pace to challenge the racing points, Renaults or Red Bulls today. But I think that was McLaren. McLaren have kind of struggled most of the weekend. They haven't looked that fast. So to finish P6, great result for Norris. So 8 out of 10 for Lando Norris.
Yeah, really positive result for him. And Carlos Sainz's luck this season really still kind of remains against him. He certainly, if Norris was the unlucky out of the two the previous season, I would say Carlos has definitely been the unlucky guy this season, and definitely not what he wants going into his start with Ferrari. He would have liked to have ended his time with McLaren on a high. Unfortunately, he can still do that. There's still plenty of races to go in the second half of the season. But yes, he has been unlucky, but P2 last week. So contrasting fortunes for all three of the podium sitters. Actually, none of them finished the race this week.
No.
So that
they actually didn't. No.
Yeah, that is crazy on that front. Which moves us on nicely to Racing Point, and Lance Stroll really unlucky, driving a really solid race. Had good restarts, was ahead of Alexander Albon, was maybe potentially chasing down Daniel Ricciardo for a podium late on in the race. His safety car then allowed Alex Albon to kind of push on and take advantage of it. We've got in the background there, Alex Albon looking very happy with himself. We'll come on to talk about that with his podium. Finally getting that first career podium, but looking very happy with his team, and the team very happy with him. But Lance Stroll, unfortunately, he was having those celebrations last week with his team, had a rear left failure, I think it was, and 170 mile an hour, they reckoned, at that corner into the wall. The car looked an absolute write-off, and again, we've said it so many times, but there were a lot of scary accidents this weekend, and so it shows massively how the safety of Formula One has come on and come forward, but it does obviously make you uncomfortable, because it's not nice to see. I mean, the back end of that car was basically just skewed, wasn't it? It had kind of almost bent in on itself. Which horrible, but that's what the crash structures are there to do, to absorb the impact. But thank goodness he was okay. But it's an 8 out of 10 because I thought he really had a brilliant race. And the guy who did finish, P5, still a solid result. And maybe you can forgive him after, pretty crappy news he received this week that he's not going to be driving with Racing Point, Aston Martin, next season, because he will be replaced at the team by Sebastian Vettel for the 2021 season. But Checo, after that grid penalty that he got, obviously for colliding with Kimi Räikkönen in practice, wasn't it? He got a one-place grid penalty. He was behind Stroll, and he was behind Stroll pretty much all race.
Never really touched him.
And never really got close.
He had a bad start of the race, didn't he? Did he have a good start? No, he had an okay start. Stroll had a much better start.
Stroll was like fighting the Renault of Ricciardo and obviously the Red Bull of Albon, and Perez wasn't really in that fight at all.
He never got close to that fight. So
Perez gets a 7 out of 10 because it's still a good points finish for him this weekend.
So yes, that moves us on to Renault. With Esteban Ocon retiring because of brake failure. He was the one mechanical error, failure, where his brakes just seemed to have... Well, Russell said they were on fire when they were coming into the pits. So, well, no, that was under the safety car, wasn't it? So, yeah. He just retired, got unlucky, brakes failure, bam, out the race. I think he was running P10, but yeah. Ricciardo, on the other hand, so close to his first podium with Renault, but just couldn't hold off Albon. Just showed great pace all race, looked set for that podium, but just couldn't hold on to it.
I think the red flag cost him. Yeah. I think if we don't have the red flag, I think we're talking about a Daniel Ricciardo podium. I don't know what more he could have done. I thought he was driving a brilliant race. Yeah. The Red Bull was clearly the second quickest car this weekend. Mm-hmm. And again, Ricciardo is mixing it where that Renault probably shouldn't be. But he is driven fantastic and one of my drivers of the season, I think. And another great performance for him.
Probably has one more shot at that podium at Imola. Possibly actually Bahrain circular circuit.
But we'll see. There aren't going to be too many opportunities, and unfortunately, things conspired against him.
It's a bit
today.
like Spa. It was in touching distance, but just
out of reach.
Yeah, but fantastic race from Ricciardo, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Now on to Red Bull and Max Verstappen again. Well, maybe it's him and teams with engine problems. You know, the issue, because 3 times this season, Honda's engine has let Max Verstappen down. And obviously that's not the cause of the retirement, although talking post it, he was kind of feeling like it was the same problem that forced him to retire the previous week in Monza. Yeah. But you could see there was clearly something wrong with that car, because he had an amazing start. He was up alongside Lewis Hamilton, and then suddenly his car had no power.
Yes.
And he was just helpless, dropped into the pack. Then there was Kimi had someone land on his front tyre, which then let him go in a straight line and into the back of Max Verstappen, which put him into the gravel trap and forced him to retire from the race. So yeah, no rating for Max, and a very frustrating weekend for him. Although he probably would have said it would have been a boring race, because he would have comfortably finished P3 in that race. If not, maybe splitting the Mercedes of Bottas, because Bottas wasn't necessarily great this race. So, there was potential for that one. And moving on to Alex Albon. And Alex Albon receives a 9 out of 10. In all honesty, this is the bare minimum he should have finished today. But with everything that's gone on in Alex Albon's career to date, with the Brazil 2019 race and the Austria race, it's clearly knocked him self-confidence-wise, and the pressure, and seeing Gasly winning Monza last week. This was the perfect kind of comeback, I think, for Alex Albon. He made life difficult for himself, but he needed to get the podium, and he managed to secure the podium. So you have to give him credit where credit's due. He obviously got criticised heavily last week, which, funnily enough, for people who've been fairly critical of Alex Albon, we were less critical of Albon last week in Monza. But this week, you have to give credit where credit's due. Was good in qualifying, qualified where he needed to, P4.
Yep.
And he's, with Max's retirement, naturally should inherit that 3rd place. Had poor race start and didn't necessarily... I think it was the first red flag he struggled with.
All 3 of the starts were not great.
The Red Bull didn't seem great starting off the line in the hands of Alex Albon, but once he got into the groove, he was catching, and he may have taken Ricciardo and Stroll if Stroll hadn't retired.
His pace was looking good, wasn't it?
He was certainly catching both of those, but after the restart, on the softs, he looked quick. Fantastic overtake around Daniel Ricciardo. Really was very good going around the outside. Bold, was brave on it, and obviously learned. This is the type of thing, he was much better at this overtake than he was in the Austria Grand Prix. I know people will still go that, you know, that is all Lewis Hamilton's fault. I think Albon was a bit too aggressive in how close he was to Hamilton there. And in the incident today, he gave Ricciardo a lot more room, but got the better traction like he did in that Lewis Hamilton one, and got the job done and went down and chased Bottas until obviously Mercedes proved that they're very clear apart from everyone. But he did the best that he could have possibly done today, Albon, so it's a 9 out of 10 for him. Mercedes.
Who do I start with? Lewis Hamilton's won the race. Fantastic start. Well, not fantastic first start, but he nailed the second and third start and controlled the race from there. Never left the door open again. So 9 out of 10 for Lewis. I think he's won a race. He won it from pole, but it's a tough race win with all those restarts. Okay. They were miles ahead of the rest, and Bottas is his teammate. But 9 out of 10 for Lewis. It was a fantastic drive from him. Valtteri Bottas, I always like to leave him to second. Yet again, shows we're not going to get a title fight until 2022. Had a fantastic start, and maybe if we didn't get that first safety car, maybe if it was just a normal race, he may have gone on and won it. But you have to adapt to the circumstances, and Bottas didn't. After the first safety car, he backed up the pack for the first safety car, and that very quickly went red flag, so we don't know how well that would have gone. And then from the second one, Lewis immediately overtook him into the first corner. And then the first red flag, he even got overtaken by Ricciardo. So it just, he managed to get second and got the fastest lap. But there was no challenge. No challenge for the race lead.
I think the best way to sum it up for Bottas is, I think we could sympathise probably for Valtteri Bottas after the first one. Because he got the great restart, then the safety car and the red flag happened. And if you started he did what he needed to do from P2 to get ahead. Starting P2 was the advantage position because you could slipstream into turn 1 and it gave an advantage, as we saw from Lewis Hamilton on the second restart. Both people who started from P2 into turn 1 or out of turn 1 were leading the Grand Prix. So that was a positive, for, you could say, unlucky. And he also said he wanted to go on the opposite strategy to Lewis Hamilton, but Mercedes put him and Hamilton on the same strategy.
Yeah, I would say this weekend he did show Bill fight on the team radio. Yeah. He wanted the alternative strategy and he did ignore the instructions for avoiding the curbs.
But he was given a golden nugget at the end of the race with the Stroll red flag. He was given another shot at the race lead and he blew it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, when you're in a car that good, the margins are so fine, you don't get golden opportunities like that so much. He at least needed to match Lewis Hamilton in the start. Like I said, he had a poor start that ended up him falling behind Daniel Ricciardo at the restart and almost falling behind Alexander Albon as well.
And we know it wasn't impossible to make the move on the restart because the previous 2 restarts, second place was in the lead into the first corner.
So yeah. Did you rate him 5 out of 10? What are we going for?
We're going for 5 out of 10.
It's just a shame for Valtteri. He just isn't shown enough. But anyway, guys, that is another driver ratings. We hope you enjoyed the Mugello kind of crazy fest. What do you make of the circuit? Go from there. A few changes up to the usual schedule. Tomorrow we'll see the F1 Fantasy Weekly. Tomorrow, sorry. This is Monday that comes out. Obviously it's Sunday. Yep. I was getting confused in my head. But yes, Fantasy Weekly come out there, and not a race review podcast, but just an F1 podcast where obviously we'll talk about stuff within the race, but we'll also talk about F1 in general, some key points, across and, things going forward. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that. It's still going to be a longer form podcast that you guys can catch up on, and with more general, hopefully it gets some stuff there. We may be kind of ranking the 5 new circuits on the F1 grid and that as well. So that'd be quite good to do that. But guys, we hope you've enjoyed it today, and if you're new around here or haven't done so already, what can they do, Stephen?
They can like, subscribe and ding that bell.
Ding that bell. But that's it from us today, guys. We hope you've enjoyed. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.